So, starting episode number 4.
Episode number 4.
Not really starting with a plan once again.
Sorry, wing it.
It doesn't seem like we have
Right.
plans for these things.
Surrender to control.
Control
Surrender to control.
Continuation of the previous episode of the control, I guess. I'm trying to think what I left off of what came out of that in order to transition. Extracurricular activities by our cats continue in episode number 4.
We're down here, so they have to be down here.
Yeah. They're somewhere invisible, but you can just hear them.
We can always hear them.
I'm trying to think. How about this? How about, and this might be an uncomfortable set of topics, more so than even before, but how about we start with attachment, your attachments to love, which your side will come into that. And then depending on how much time we have left and how that will go, then the second portion of it will be how it propagated into my side of it. And I think you know what I'm referring to. And then basically how that played out. So wait, to begin with, though, I'm trying to think what would be why on your end it started. Not registering. How about this? I will transition this way. My when we first got married, right? You were in your 20s.
Yeah.
And then I guess I was in my when we got together, you were in your early 20s and I was in my early 20s. And then, it took us 3 years to get married. But all through your time prior to me, masturbation was something that was totally normal.
Yeah.
And in fact, I still think it is normal under the right circumstances.
Well, masturbation with pornography.
Okay, yeah.
Too.
Okay, so in your case, it was masturbation with pornography. So basically addiction to pornography.
Yeah.
And then masturbation comes along with it.
Yeah.
So this is a sensitive topic episode where lots of swallowing will be happening. I'll have to edit this one out extra. Yeah, and so how it propagated, I did not have a problem with it. Like, that is not something that I even still till this day think that, like, men should not masturbate or this is wrong or whatever. But how it propagated between us is that I started to feel like your addiction to pornography, and at the time I did not even realize how big of this thing it was.
It absolutely was an addiction.
Yeah, and I had no clue how big it was. The only thing I knew,
and I didn't appreciate how big it was.
Appreciate? Yeah, maybe is that the word?
I didn't
grasp.
I didn't grasp how big it was.
Yeah, right. And so to me, how it presented itself on the surface, right? The first signs of it that I saw was that as a married couple, right? I thought like a married relationship would have a certain amount of sex drive or desire for one another. So maybe our children will not listen to this episode. They'll be like, no. And so it presented itself with you not wanting me. That is how I saw it. And I was confused. Like, not that we were not having sex, we were, but like just the drive and the desire behind it wasn't, it didn't match mine. I don't know. It didn't match mine, or it didn't match my idea of how a married couple should be. And then at some point, I have no idea how. I don't even remember the details because this is in the early 2000s. I realized that you were masturbating a lot. And then I realized, oh wait, but this is affecting our relationship. This is even pre-marriage too. And then I asked you to stop, right? Did I ask you to stop? And I actually remember having this conversation with my best friend at the time, because I was like, yeah, like he's just masturbating, and then like or don't have an intimate relationship. And she's like, well, that's perfectly fine. I'm like, no, it's fine. It's not the masturbation. It's that I want to have an intimate relationship. How do I get that? And it seems like masturbation is the key. At the time, that's how I saw it. I saw it like the reason why there's lack of intimacy, or there's lack of true love, or even like desire to have sex with me was that was the only thing I could point to.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I had been doing that since I was, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 years old, really, really young. And I just never stopped. And, having had time to sort of reflect on that, it's like I know that that is something that gave me some sense of control. Like, oh, I'm unhappy about all these things in my life, but this, you know, at least numbs that pain. Or at least, you know, this is the one thing that I, have control over.
Well, have control over, but then probably at the same time, it gives you that hit, like what the addiction does. It gives you that
Yeah.
hit of, was it
Yeah.
dopamine or adrenaline or whatever?
Yeah. No, it does. And but that combined with the kind of fundamentalist strict upbringing that I had, I had a lot of like guilt and shame around it and hiding it, and that is a vicious cycle to be continually doing something that you at some level feel is wrong or bad, or you're going to go to hell from it, or who knows what.
Yeah, but you were raised in an environment where anything related to sex, such as even like openness to talk about it, was
Yeah,
taboo.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Let's bring that in, right? So anything at all related to sex, like
right,
even like nudity,
yeah, and there was I had to sit in the hall one year during sex education and
which is
in
high school,
school.
right?
I don't know if it was high school or middle school. I don't remember which year it was, but I remember being the only kid in the hall while everyone else is learning about where babies come from, and I'm sitting out there going, I don't even know what I'm missing.
Yeah, probably nothing important.
uh, so yeah, so this shame spiral sent me into a depression, and I was on and off really depressed for a long time. There were good times and bad times, but more bad times than good times from, I don't know, somewhere in high school until late 20s.
Yeah,
So we're talking,
I had no clue.
a decade plus
I mean,
that
late
I was.
20s, maybe even into the, I don't know, was it not into the 30s?
No, I think it was probably late 20s, and we'll get to why I think that. I would lay in bed and I would visualize killing myself. It was I was not in a good place, and I grew up in this environment where you don't talk about that. You don't everything's perfect. That's like the family motto I grew up with. It was everything's fine, everything's perfect. We have a perfect family, and anything that was not perfect was hidden. It was just you don't talk about it. Um, so this is it. I wish I had just been able to talk to you about it, because oh my gosh, that would have saved us a lot of heartache. But you couldn't talk to anyone about it, and the idea of going to see a therapist or something, you don't do that nowadays. It's it's acceptable and encouraged to
In some places, still not. I
in
mean,
some
some
places it's
families
not, but
here are still not.
yeah, but
Yeah.
you know not being able to talk about what you're going through is really rough. And anyway, the combination between addiction, which I now know I just have that type of uh personality genetics, I don't know, whatever it is, I'm very easily addicted to anything, whether that's sex, whether that's alcohol, whether that's sugar, whether that it doesn't matter. Just anything that triggers that. Maybe it's dopamine, whatever it is. Oh, that's fun. I want more of that. A lot more of that all the time. And now I just know, oh, that's my nature, and I've really got to be careful with it.
Well, no, but now I think more than that, you're starting to realize, wait, I'm going for sugar nonstop.
Yeah.
What's underneath
what's
that is
going
deeper
on?
than that?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
so the key is one, realize, guess what? You have addictive tendencies. You're just more likely to be addictive. But I think it comes down to, because deep down at the core, something is being triggered that is trying to come up, some pain body is being triggered that you need to release, or you need to do some work on, a talk through, or start to actualize and bring up to surface, right? As opposed to, and then in your case, instead of going along with that, like, oh, let me uncover what is it that is coming up right now. You go, oh, la 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 la. Let's have some sugar, or let's masturbate back then, or let's watch some porn. And so everyone will find some sort of vice to numb off or drown off a pain body that is trying to bring itself to the surface. And then, outlets for that are endless, especially in 2023.
Yeah.
Right? There's Instagram is an outlet for that.
Sure. Right.
Right? Sugar is an outlet for that. Bread is an outlet for that. Heck, running is an outlet for that, right? So you can take, multitude of things to go, oh, this is coming to the surface, right? My soul is going through some sort of transition where my body's trying to actualize itself past the lies, past the fact that I'm unlovable and nobody wants me, and I feel lack of control, and I feel helpless, and I feel like I'm a bad human being, and I feel guilt and shame. Instead of having that come to the surface and start to unravel and process that, which I think in the first episode we touched based on, what's the tears come, right? That's when you start crying and going, oh my gosh, this is what's actually underneath of it all. You bury it with a
things that numb it out.
Numbing things.
Yeah. So yeah, I met you, and I've got a, pushing 15-year history of doing that. And, never crossed my mind that you would stop or cut back. And it's, it's so easy, and, and it's so on demand that, at any point you can just do that instead of or,
you don't have to drive to a liquor store to get a bottle.
Yeah.
You just go to the bathroom.
Sure. But I meant, like, as opposed to, having relations with you, it would be like,
oh yeah.
Oh, it's just, okay, whatever.
Oh yeah. Cause Tanya requires courting and coaxing and right. So sex basically by default, even though it facilitates the same outcome of, coming, in this case is more work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And with me, it presented itself obviously into my pain body, which was like, wait, I'm unlovable. He doesn't love me. This man wants to marry me, and he doesn't love me. Right. And so like for the longest time, I know you think it's a joke, but I thought you were gay. I'm like, well, maybe he's just gay. I don't know. Like,
I remember that. I remember we had a lot of arguments about that.
Well, if I'm not seeing your side, and that's the truth, right? I am not seeing your side, but the truth is, you're in so deep, you're not even seeing your side,
right?
You're just like, the only thing you can know
and I'm
is
doing
you need
everything
to lie.
I can to hide it.
Yeah,
well,
you're
especially
hiding
from
it.
you,
You're lying,
and then even from myself.
Yeah, you're
as to how serious it really was.
Yeah, you're hiding it. You're lying. So the last thing that is going to happen is us actually trying to unravel this. Because at the time, I don't know, you were hiding it too much. I didn't understand how bad it was. And so, this is our early 20s. We're, planning on getting married here. And so, right. But at the same time, it's like, it's already a thing. We're not even married, and it's already a thing.
Yeah.
And then I guess I am completely underestimating the depth of the addiction.
Yeah. And I totally could not grasp the depth of it either. It was, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it took years and years and years and multiple reiterations of it presenting itself in the worst ways possible before you actually admitted to yourself that you're addicted to
No,
porn.
it was hard. It was really hard to admit that I was addicted to that. It was,
No,
I remember the very moment that I did, because it was like, oh, I actually have a problem here. It's like, you can imagine an alcoholic going, I can stop anytime I want to. I just don't want to. That's kind of what I thought. I can stop anytime I want to. I just don't want to. No, I couldn't stop.
yeah.
I felt, it just sounds ridiculous. I know that. Saying that now, it just sounds absurd. I couldn't stop myself.
Yeah, and I on my end never had addictive tendencies, so I didn't even know what it would be like to not have self-control, to where you're participating in something that is quite bad for you and it's obvious, but yet somehow your body's overriding the logic behind it, and then you're in some other space, um doing it like almost blindly, like almost on
No,
the
it is.
autopilot.
It is. That's a good way to put it. It is like an autopilot. It is just like this.
It's an override, like
Yeah. I mean,
override of your.
I don't want to pretend that I have no responsibility here, because obviously it was me doing it. But
It was a
it
choice, and you
yes, of
yeah,
course, there's a choice, and of course I did it, and I have the responsibility there. But in the moment, it was like, almost like being possessed by something that compels you to do it, even though you don't necessarily want to. You know that this is probably not the right thing to do. I don't even mean like morally. I just mean, even I could tell that it was, not healthy for the relationship. But but a quick fix, you know, numbs all that away. Then you feel like shit afterward. You know,
well, because you're doing it for the wrong reason. You're doing it because you feel like shit, but then you think it was going to make you feel better, but then
yeah,
you do it, but it just like propagates the fact that you already feel like shit.
yeah. Now it's, oh, I still feel like shit, and I feel like shit because I did this.
Yeah, but at no point is there an awareness like, wait, maybe I should do something other than this altogether.
Yeah,
And so yeah, I didn't understand the depth of that. And so yeah, maybe that is just a good warning in general, especially for the younger people, is that it is easy to start something because you feel like crap, right? And then it numbs the pain.
yeah. And some of these things aren't, okay. You can put, promiscuous sex and drugs and alcohol into this. These are all, you know, people will generally agree that these are bad things. But it could be exercise, it could be running, it could be workaholics, it could be, there are any numbers of things, some of which are more socially acceptable than others, that that you know plug that hole.
Yeah. So you have a pain body, right? Something that is nagging at you. So from the higher realm standpoint, because your soul is trying to bring this up to the surface, right? And then address it, like on the let's say therapy level, psychologically, or like have a discussion with a trusted partner on the depth of like, here's what I'm actually feeling, this is where it's striking, this is where it's coming from, right? Like that deep mature conversation that probably will have you crying, but at the same time will have you understand what the essence of you is, essence of you as a human being, right? But a lot of times we're either not in the position to do that, or we're not mature enough to do that, um or we're simply in some sort of survival mode where we don't even have time and space to touch on that depth, right? And so the only thing that we can do is, right, because it cannot continue to be at the surface, because that's suicide, right? Like your body literally feels like you're killing it when you're not addressing this influx of energy, right? that is shame and pain and everything else. So the only thing you can offer is these quick fixes with addictions, with gambling, with running, with weed, with drinking, with masturbation, or whatever it might be. And yeah, so that maybe that's like a warning out that is just it, and that to begin with it seems harmless. It's like, oh well, right now I don't feel that good. This will make me feel better. But then sooner or later it just becomes this autopilot to where like
Yeah.
as this when this pain
Oh,
comes
I don't
up,
feel good. Therefore, I will.
yeah, guess what? The next thing I do, I go masturbate. Or when this feeling comes up and I feel guilt, even about something else, right? Just the feeling of guilt is
Yeah.
now associated with, oh, what's the next thing? Oh, the next thing I go and masturbate.
Yeah.
Oh, I feel hopeless in this situation. Guess what I do? Oh, I go masturbate.
Yeah.
And so it's just like every single feeling that you're not allowing yourself to feel,
Yeah.
every single emotion you're not allowing yourself to feel.
I remember exactly that. I remember, oh, I'm feeling something that doesn't feel great. I have a solution to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And then you feel even worse afterward.
Yeah.
I did.
But you never stop to identify what is it that is trying to come up to the surface.
Never.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah. But in your case, this stems from the fact that you were not allowed to have emotions and feelings and verbalize them in the household. And so that lack of maturity, like was almost like bred into you, right? Because I have a feeling of anger, or I have a feeling of not being heard, and I can bring that up to my mother, or I can bring that up to my friend and address those in a healthy way. That wasn't something that was communicated to you.
Right. And I didn't have any friends that I could talk to about any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I think maybe that's easier these days for the youth of today. Maybe they're more open about
Deep
topics.
conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I did not have friends that I could have a deep conversation with. But the youth of today, again, I think he's going to get upset at us for bringing this up, does seem to be very open-minded to deeper conversations.
You said he, not me.
Do I?
I was leaving it vague. You said he, not me.
I know. He'll know. Although he's probably not listening to this episode.
That's right.
Oh, it's already started off on the bad foot. If we mentioned to our son that we might have brought up a specific example about him or other people, and he got really upset. And I'm like, but this is literally like the truth of your life and our life, and the honesty of just us going through things, right? From multitude of angles, as grandparents, as parents, as children, generationally, continentally, right? And so like the story is like it's the same story, and we're kind of living this in this kind of mess of a soup. You can't separate chunks out and go, okay, yeah, I won't talk about that because that doesn't fit. It quite literally fits.
Yeah.
Everything fits. Yeah, no, so the youth of today is more mature to start to unravel, and maybe even I mean, and I know they're not going to like this, but through their own actions of bravery and of open-mindedness and of being able to address their emotions and talk about things, can actually set an example for their parents and their grandparents to start to address their things, even at their age that they are right now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I know it's supposed to go the other direction. But
yeah, but I mean, we learn things from our kids all the time. And I don't just mean like the lingo.
All the recent stuff.
Recent.
I don't think that's a thing anymore. Yeah, that was the word we learned. No, right, but but the fact that I can look at them and see their open-mindedness and open approach to honesty, and then have them be I hate to say it, be more responsible adults in their teenage years than most adults are well into their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. It is inspiring, right? And I know you and I are on this journey, so we're kind of like actively trying to make sure that our kids are keeping up with us and, I know they roll their eyes every time we talk about make sure you uncover your pain body, and this might be the shadow, and here's maybe how you address it, right? But it again, and the pain body of us is we do not want them to spend 20 years of their marriage suffering or lying to yourself, really lying to
Yeah.
yourself. So then come 20 years into your marriage, you're finally starting to like see the light for the first time. Right? Because that's not the world we live in anymore. Even though that is the world we are in today. Yeah, anyway. And so yeah, got off track. But where were we?
I was gonna say, so yeah, so I just kept doing that through our whole marriage, and you would on occasion, ask me to stop, and I would try to stop, and
Well, I actually think you would, like, on
I would
occasion,
stop.
the reason why I would ask you, because I actually thought you would. And then
I tried, and I would
every
stop
so
for
often there was this, like, discovery. Wait, you're doing this again?
weeks or even months, and then get back into it. And it's like once you've fallen off the wagon, on the wagon, off the wagon, whatever the bad one is, it's easy to stay off the wagon. It's like, well, I've already done it once. What's two? Well, two. Well, three's 99. What's number 100? And so it's like, oh, you just off the deep end. Until that last day when like it was like you found out, and it I finally really for the first time actually realized, one, this is a serious addiction. I have an actual real problem. And two, I am going to blow up the marriage over this. I'm going to lose you and my son and the family, and is this more important than that, really? When that day when I had both of those realizations, that was the turning point. But I between the addiction and the depression, and I think they fed each other. I really do. I think that was the spiral, was that I would feel bad and depressed, and I would masturbate because then that would make me feel better for a short while, and then I would feel more depressed, and round and round and round I would go. And it was only really after I stopped that the depression cleared up. And that's why I can say, oh, it was, in the late 20s that happened. Because that's, out of everything, that's the thing that I can point to that really stopped the depression.
Yeah. But then there was episodes where you would continue, right?
Not after that. After the late 20s. Not until a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So you kind of it resurfaces.
Oh, yeah.
You have to be kind of,
yeah.
If you're not doing the work that would cause you to be aware of why you dive into the depression, right? Like doing the nitty gritty of going to the why am I even doing that in the first place? It will surface back up as something else. And this is not to to judge or diminish that breakthrough. I do think though that that discovery, like, oh, I don't want my masturbation to implode my marriage and my life, got fixed with, let me find something else.
Well, I found I found something else to fill the void left by not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of taking care of it then in your 20s, you found something else to substitute as a new addiction.
Yeah. 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 I didn't do any work to why do I feel this way? Why do I feel the need to numb it out?
Yeah, you continue to feel that way and numb it out, just with different things.
I changed the not the symptom, the tool for it.
Yeah. And so I think, I'm trying to think where we were. I mean, one, I do think you went into then sex itself. Like,
yeah.
Oh, like, well, heck, Tanya would be happy. Tanya wants more sex. and she's griping on me for not having sex with her. So,
And I'm not getting
and I'm
any
not
other
getting
way.
any sex any other way because now I have taken masturbation off of the table. So guess what? And so your addiction for porn and masturbation transferred itself into just sex addiction. And now, in this case, it is difficult to say because most people go, well, how is it bad? Because it's your wife. Because that was the argument you kept on having with me,
Right.
or with yourself, really.
Right. But when it, at some point, again, this wasn't all that long ago, I realized, oh, it's not really for the right reason. I want to have sex because there is a hole inside of me that seems to be filled when we do it. There's some void that fills because, that equals love, right? It's like, in my mind, what's the highest expression of love? Well, that would be sex. I mean,
Is not.
I'm already starting off on a false premise here. But, so when we have sex, that basically proves to me that she loves me. And so this unlovable, broken part of me gets patched over, at least temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, instead of, numbing it myself, now I'm numbing it with you.
Yeah. And that has been the case until quite recently. And in fact, possibly is the case still, depending on the day. Right? Because you're still have to keep a watchful eye of your sexual desire and what's truly behind it. That was, I think that was yes.
Meow. That's right.
Right? Did you hear what I said?
Yeah. No, that's right.
So if you have an addiction that is that deep.
Yeah, I was gonna say that, yes, because it is that deep and it is that deep is the right word. The 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 reasons and the motives and what you hope to get out of it and what you hope to achieve, that's a bad word though, they all kind of get jumbled up. And then sometimes I wasn't even sure why. I'm like, I want to have sex, but why? I don't know why. It's like, okay, hormones, that's easy to, that's my go-to. I'll just blame hormones. Yeah, okay. And that's not to say that hormones don't play a role, but at the same time, there have been many times when I'm like, oh, I don't feel great. I don't feel great internally. And I know that would make me feel better. Therefore, it's just like I just want to go right there as a you know for someone else it would be it would be alcohol. For someone else it would be heroin, or gambling or whatever it is, or running or lifting weights, or it doesn't even matter, right? How can we say running's bad? How can we say exercise is bad? It isn't the activity is bad. It's the motive behind
What's
it.
bringing it into desire?
Right. Why do you feel this? And to me, it would be a compulsion that I would feel. There's a spot in my belly, maybe it's my solar plexus, that would just kind of light up with this kind of like anticipation of, ooh, guess what's gonna happen? And that now that's my big signal that this is not the right time or the right circumstances. Because when that happens, it's like, okay,
I'm trying to fill a hole.
I'm trying to fill a hole. Where's instead of filling the hole, let's try to identify the hole and figure out why I think there's a hole in the first place.
Yeah. And with me, I went a long time at first just not realizing what the heck was happening. And then just going, well, why can't we have a normal, healthy sexual relationship, right? In the beginning, stages of our marriage together. And then later after you start masturbating and we started to have more sex, right? Or you started to want to have sex with me. Because at first I thought, okay, well, he just doesn't want to, right? And so we can get into what that propagated itself as. But then after you did start to have sex with me, you wanted to have sex with me, then it went into, this doesn't feel right.
On
Right.
your end.
On my end, right? Because the sex didn't feel right. Right. Now, of course, at the time, I'm not intuitive enough to even realize that the sex is, I mean, maybe deep down I know that it doesn't feel right, but I'm not going, wait, he's just propagating his addiction into our normal sex life right now, right?
Right.
It took me a long time. I just knew it didn't feel right.
And I've read a lot about this, and or, you know, a lot on my road to recovery and trying to. I haven't found anybody who is in my situation exactly, or maybe our situation exactly, because you know, I'm not out there, you know, sleeping around prostitutes and all this stuff. It was never that, and so the solution for so many people in these books and guides is focus it on your spouse. And I'm like, well, I tried that, but then you're just the outlet for my
Right.
addiction. That's
Right.
not. I've aimed the addiction somewhere else, and that's not. I haven't solved anything, and I don't know. And in some relationships, maybe everybody's happy there. I don't know, but that's not a uh, a healthy solution.
Yeah, no, as it started to propagate itself into our sex life, just like normal sex life, to where we're having sex because you're addicted. And at this, right, I'm not even realizing that because you're addicted. It it just seemed off. It was just, it didn't feel right. Most of the time was very one-sided. Most definitely I noticed there was zero me taken into account of when you wanted to have sex and how you wanted to have sex. It was almost like this,
To initiate it,
when you would initiate it, it was very like you could tell there was like this, like, what's the word?
anxiety.
Anxiety behind it. Like, I need to have it. Right.
Yeah.
So
No,
imagine,
I had a lot of I had an awful lot of anxiety around it, because it was like I had nowhere else to get it, and so
I mean, it wasn't that long ago you were yelling at me for being in control. Remember, like, it
yeah,
was like a year ago or something? You were yelling at me like, "You hold the keys to my sack," whatever it was. It was like a manic episode
yeah,
to where you deemed me as the only person who can satisfy your addictive needs.
right.
And then the second I said, "Oh, guess what? No, you need to fix this. We need to fix this before it continues because it's not working." And you were losing it
I was losing it.
because the addiction was still there.
It was still there.
I mean, that was like a year ago,
It was.
maybe even less. I don't remember.
Yeah.
No, so right, if the books are telling somebody to, oh, well, guess what? Just don't go prostituting, don't go to strip clubs, don't use porn, just concentrate all of those tendencies onto your wife. It is complete disservice, not only to the wife, but to you. Because at no point is that actually solving the deep ingrained issues of why are you even in that place to begin with. That's not a solution to addiction,
Right.
especially sex addiction. There's just like quite literally going la 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 la. As long as I focus it on my wife, everything's hunky dory.
Yeah.
I'm not even saying that that is unfair towards me as a human being. I'm just saying that is just unfair to you, towards yourself, right? To be in that space and continue to be in that space. Because I mean, I can't even imagine how ugly that feels.
Yeah. And like in my case, that's where I was going. There was so much anxiety around getting it that anytime I would try to initiate it, I was a mess. I was just this nervous wreck.
Because it was a fix.
It was like
and
a
that
fix.
was your dealer.
Yeah. And
It's like,
so,
you know, like when you see, I don't know if this is actually truth or not, but in a movie when the junkies are like
twitching.
twitching
No,
and going.
I would very nearly start twitching, and sometimes actually start twitching.
The symptoms of what I see on TV and exaggeration and how you would approach me for sex were the same.
Yeah, and it's like, how can this thing be that have that vivid of an expression? But it absolutely did.
Well, no, because the thing is not sex. It had nothing to do with sex.
That's it. Is that it could replace that with anything.
Yeah.
Replace that. There's. We knew someone. You were just telling me the other day. We knew someone who said, "Oh, if I don't run my 10 miles every other day, I just can't."
Yeah.
I only ran 5 miles today, so it's just not going to be a good day. Well, with this person, it's running.
Yeah. And then with you, both of us at some point decided to take on drinking as our vice.
Added
that was a communal decision on both of our behalves.
Yeah.
To where because we're self-employed and we work from home. Excuse me. We would. I don't know. There was like at least a year period, or maybe even 2-year period. Heck, maybe even longer. I don't know. For sure, 2 years, where very frequently, come noontime, we're like, "Oh, okay, let's have a drink."
Yeah, we finished all the hard work.
Yeah, we did some work. No, we still continue.
And we
work.
would continue to work. We were high functioning
alcoholics. Yeah, but come noontime, not every day. I'm not saying that it was that bad, but come noontime, we would have a drink.
It was several days a week.
Yeah, and then at night you were having a bottle of wine. Sometimes, depending on how the dinner goes and how long the dinner is, sometimes we open a second bottle of wine.
Right. It was a lot. It was a lot.
It was a lot, but it was so it was like I could in that point I can see the blindness of the addiction.
Yeah.
Right. So on that end, I saw where we were. Like, oh, something happens at work and it ticks me off. Oh, glass of wine.
Oh yeah.
And that's like a joke in the society right now.
Right.
Like,
oh, that was a hard day. Go home and unwind with a beer, have a glass of wine.
And it's like the society has programmed itself, probably marketing by the vineyards, but the drug and the alcohol lobby or whatever. Big alcohol.
The alcohol industrial complex.
Right. No, but that's true, right? Like they normalize the fact, oh, you feel like shit after a hard day of work? Guess what? A glass of wine will solve that.
That numbs it all out.
Yeah, but like what are we saying here? That there's something that is coming to the surface that has bothered you, right? That you could address on a deeper level of like, wait, why am I hitting? Why am I in this place? This thing, but where is it actually hitting?
But it's hard to do that. It's hard and it's uncomfortable and it's painful and you're going to get upset and you're going to get angry and you're probably going to cry.
If you go deep enough.
If you go deep enough and you're going to start off with, oh, well, it's Janet. It's all Janet's fault at the office because she pisses me off every time, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
It's not Janet.
No, it's you.
Janet's pushing some button, hitting some trigger that is inside of you. That ... Turns out you're dying alone.
Yeah,
is what it's triggering. But having a glass of wine and complaining about Janet kind of smooths that over for another day.
Yeah,
it kicks it down till tomorrow.
Yeah, but the society has normalized that.
Yeah, alcohol is the only drug where it's like. It's weird to not use it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like there for a while after we stopped drinking, like whenever we would travel, like we would go to a restaurant and they would like, I don't know, whatever it was.
Would you like the cocktail of the day?
Yeah, like right. Everybody has their special. Yeah. Maybe it's becoming more mainstream to more people don't drink, but like there for a while, we
were still drinking. This would have been October 2020, and we were out. But for whatever, I don't even know why. I was like, "Hey, let's do a sober October."
No, but
we were drinking. We were heavily drinking up through September.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I was upset because I was like, "What the heck? I'm not gonna be drinking."
Right. And but I got to the point where, we would go out to run with cross country. But we had been drinking I had been drinking during the day, and I'm high functioning enough that I can still go for a run, a couple hours after I've had a couple drinks. But I was so self-conscious about being someone smelling it on my breath that I would like, kind of like dodge away and not really talk to
Oh, is that
anyone.
why you decided to do Sober-October?
No,
Oh.
but that was when I started realizing maybe we have a problem. If I'm embarrassed about doing it and I'm still doing it, maybe there's something there. That was kind of the thing for me.
We even went online and found like symptoms of alcoholism.
If you have 5 of these 10, then you're probably an alcoholic.
And
were
we
like,
did.
oh, we've got all 9 of them. Everything except, it's destroying my marriage and I've lost my house.
Well, yeah, everything that was applying to the high functioning part and the low functioning.
We had like 9 out of the 10. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
So we took October off, and sure enough, Halloween, this is the last day of October, we have, we're out trick-or-treating and we have people offering us, drinks and Jello shots and everything. And we're like, nope, can't today. But that kind of taking a month off of drinking, and it was hard. And like on October 5th, I'm like, oh my gosh, November 1st, it's all over. That's what I'm thinking. It's going to be crazy on November 1st.
Yeah.
By the end of it, it's like, I don't need it like I used to.
Well, the awareness set in of how independent you were. Because when you're in it and you don't stop and you continue it and continue and continue, and it's just satisfying that craving, right? And you almost need more and more and more because sooner or later the dopamine levels are not high enough. You almost like numb to the idea that you're even doing it, right? Versus when you take a break and you realize how hard it is for you to stop. You have you like that realization within itself, like opens this portal within you. You're like, oh crap, this is bad.
And so November came, and we didn't even drink the first few days of November. And finally we had something, but we didn't dive back into the deep end of the booze pool at all, really.
Yeah, no, it kind of
we kind of like, okay, we'll have a glass for dinner or something. It was very, very a much more healthy amount of drinking. If there can be a healthy amount of drinking, a glass a few nights a week for dinner.
And in fact, I thought, because I also had like, oh my gosh, come November, that's it, right? And then came November.
I didn't even want to. I didn't have the strong desire to just go crazy and undo that last month in a bucket of booze. I didn't have that impulse.
Yeah. And with me...
it was weird because I expected to.
Yeah. With me, I even... whenever we would start having glass, and I think the spirit world for this, like even after we started having it afterwards,
it just didn't set well.
It didn't set well. Like, not that I would get sick. I wouldn't get sick, but like I would take a sip and it like that appeal of like, wait, why was I even drinking this? Like before you start drinking beer, right? To begin with, like you take your first still of cheap American beer and you're like, what the heck is this?
Drinking it out of a toilet.
Yeah, right. But then of course college sets in, and then most people
you acquire a taste.
Well, acquire taste. It makes you feel good, and you forget about the fact that it tastes terrible.
Maybe in some sort of Pavlovian sense, you've
associated
this taste with feeling good.
Yeah. Right. And so with me, at some point that month, so thank God you suggested it, and then whatever that kicked in within me, it allowed me to like not even just the wine no longer sounded good. Even like simple wines like rosés, right? As simple as it is, it was just not even something that
it just didn't work for you anymore.
It didn't work, right?
And I still enjoyed it, but like I felt so weird drinking alone that I wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
kind of worked your way out of it.
Yeah, we naturally worked our way out of it. Yeah,
and sometimes, even still, a glass of wine sounds nice
for the wrong reason. Sometimes just for the wrong reason.
Sometimes for the wrong reason. Sometimes it's like I just miss the taste and the texture of wine. And if they had something that tasted like that had no alcohol in it, that would be great. But I haven't found that.
Yeah. I missed the taste of some of those bourbon drinks that I used to make.
Oh,
And then we
see, I miss
have
the taste of scotch.
and then we have that non-alcoholic bourbon, and I tried making drinks with it, but
When it's like 2 years expired.
well, no, it never even, before it was expired, it never even tasted the right way. But then I realized what I missed was the energetic signature behind the whole process, including the alcohol version of it.
The ritual of it?
The ritual, right? The why. And so half of the time, oh, there you go. For what was it? For Christmas, I got you the Katy Perry's, whatever they're called.
Just a mushroom wine?
Mushroom wine, or Rishi mushroom wine, right? And I was super excited about it because I'm like, oh, we can still have our wine ritual just without the alcohol. And we had it, and it was a complete flop because I'm like, oh, I'm not drinking because that energetic signature of having the need to is what I don't need, what I don't want. And so the nostalgia behind that actually carries with it the pain body of why I used to do it.
See, it didn't hit me like that.
It hit me that way.
To me, it was like, oh, this is and I actually like the drink, but it was like it to me it could have been a water, it could have been a Coca-Cola. That would be a treat, or or it was like a treat to me. So it did something different to me.
Yeah, but that's what it is. The fact that it is a treat, right? That the dopamine satisfaction is what in me arose that same, like, oh, look, it's a fix. It's some sort of fix. It's not water, right? Because water does not have that fix. Now, granted, if you've been running for 10 miles and you come back and it's like scorching hot outside and you just need a glass of water, you might have that fix. But on a regular basis, when you're not drinking water, it doesn't have that fix.
No, yeah, it was like a.
But it's a fix.
It was a treat.
Yeah, like right now we're going through some sort of. It's not a fast, but I don't actually know how to describe it.
It's more like a dopamine fast.
It's a dopamine fast, right? So hence why our energy is all like,
right. And so like doing a podcast is like the most exciting thing.
Yeah, but I feel my energy drained because we're not having any sugar.
Yeah, there's no sugar. There's no flavor.
Yeah, there's no flavor.
There's no Instagram. There's no anything.
Right. And so within that space, right now, for me to have like even healthy sugar, let's say I took a peach, right, or mango strip, right, and had that, right, that would be that same essence of the dopamine hit that I was excited about getting when I ordered that wine, non-alcoholic wine. But then after I started drinking, I realized, oh, but I'm energetically diving into that same space, the dopamine the pleasure hit, right? And that's what I have a problem with.
Yeah. I mean,
it's not the alcohol. It's the dive.
Right now, it's like, I mean,
we need to put a little bench there so she can just like hop on. It wouldn't be visible in the video anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I want the flavor back, and I want the spiciness back, and I want the onions and the garlics and all that back. But cookies and candy, that's not really doing it for me. I don't know. Will I have some? Probably, but I don't know. Then again, if I don't, because I also know my tendency, one cookie leads to 20 cookies, leads to a box of cookies.
Yeah. What was it? What was a comedian? Some sort of comedian talked about like the Girl Scout.
Samoas.
Samoas. What was the Girl Scout Samoas like? Like you
just eat a whole.
2 minutes later, you're down a line.
A sleeve of Samoas.
That's a sleeve of Samoas.
No, I can put down a sleeve of Samoas and be completely blind to it. And then at the end, I'm like, oh shit, this is the last one. What? Wait, who took the rest of these Samoas? And nobody's around. I ate them all. And then, and I'm gonna feel terrible, like physically feel terrible because I've got these in the sleeve. A dozen, coconut chocolatey Samoa. Oh, it really sounds really good right now. Actually, I say that about the cookies. Those sound really good. But that, that left unchecked, that is where I will go. So it is easier for me to have 0 than it is for me to have 1.
Yeah, but the right thing to do in the long run is to go, why am I craving Samoas?
Right.
Right. Like in the same thing, why am I so excited about having this wine with you? Right. And it could be that, like, nostalgically, part of it is that I remember those times where you and I used to just sit together and we would talk for hours sipping wine,
Mm-hmm.
And just having loving conversations like this.
Well, we've replaced it with a different drink.
Yeah, but that's
cacao.
the thing, which makes me wonder, right? Like today, I was thinking how we replace cacao as our wine. Now, granted, on every scale, I think it is a healthier choice.
Yeah, well, that's like running versus heroin. Okay, it's better. No one's going to argue it's not better.
Yeah,
but
so I do think, as much as I love cacao, that has replaced that like catalyst for conversation between us.
I mean, I think we've proven that we don't need it.
No, I know, but I do treat that as the same way as I would a wine bottle, right? Or like a drink on the fall evening.
As a lubricant for conversation.
Lubricant, or like, right? Like, and truth is, right? How is that water bottle or my cup of water any different? Right. It's not. But like mentally, I have assigned this value to it. Yeah. You know what I mean? Same thing with, with mango strips. Like I noticed, like, okay, well, it gives me the sugar. And then now my energy is so depleted because like I'm literally running on, I guess at this point, carbs, which is probably not even the best energy.
White rice.
Right. Lots of white rice.
Lots of white rice.
I mean, we're just
a little bit of bread.
We're still a week away from it. So this is just the beginning.
I know.
It's not going to get better. Maybe we'll get better. Maybe I should think positive. Think positive.
Anywho.
Yeah, so I think we have it's 12:36. It's 1:00, right? That closer to 1:00.
So we probably got 20 minutes left.
Yeah. So we can go on, or that propagated itself. Yeah, so where we left off is sooner or later, you having sex with me, which is what I wanted, right? Which is I was like, why can we not be having sex? But for the wrong reason, because you were having that addiction tendency between them, like still did not get me what I wanted, right? And I didn't know what was wrong. I just knew it wasn't right. And so you then became very upset at me because I kept on nagging you, like, this is not right. And you're like, you're a woman. What the fuck do you want from me?
Well,
right?
I either some combination of I didn't understand what you were saying, and or you weren't articulating in a way that I could understand. I don't know. I didn't.
No, I kept on saying you're addicted to sex and you're doing this for the wrong reason. And you were like, didn't believe me. Right? Like it took probably at least 2 years.
I don't know that you worded it like that. You were like, this isn't energetically working for me. And I'm like, what does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know what that means.
No, I know. I kept on saying, no, I told you that I was telling you that there's addiction to sex. This sex is addictive to sex.
You didn't say that at least not for a long time.
No, but as soon as it dawned on me within the last 2 or 3 years, I did.
Yeah, but I mean before that, over those 10 years prior. 10 years prior,
I did not know.
Whatever you were saying, it's not working, and I'm like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, because yes, you're right. Yeah, at that time, I did not know that what you did is you took your addiction to porn and masturbation and then transferred it over.
I didn't realize that
onto
either.
Me.
I did not realize that either. I thought, okay, problem solved.
Yeah, no,
everyone's happy.
So what I felt for 10 years, 15 years, heck, for so long after you stopped masturbating, maybe 10 years, was just like, it just doesn't feel right. Like, I know this is more sex like I wanted to, but then like at that point, I'm like, what the heck is wrong with this? Like, right? Like, I'm questioning our compatibility. I'm questioning, like, this is not love. I don't even feel love. This sex is not love, right? Like, that was another thing, right? To all women out there who are having sex with men who are actively addicted to sex, and even though it's your husband, he's still addicted to sex, it just doesn't feel right. Like, on your soul level, physical level, intimate level, yes, it is sex, but it just feels weird. But that's why. Is because the sex is coming not from the heart, it's coming from an addiction. And yeah, it took me a long, long time. And I want to say the only reason I was able to figure that out is because at some point in 2017, whenever the spiritual awakening slapped me in the face, the spirits actually brought that in. Like it was them who said, this is what this is. And so then I'm like, I don't even know, but I will tell this to you. And then at that point, you just didn't want to hear that. And so we
Right, no.
spent a year or two arguing with me, saying, you're addicted to sex, you're addicted to sex, you're addicted to sex. And you were like, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And we spent quite many years just there.
Yeah. Because I mean, my ego couldn't hear that.
Well, you had to dig deep to figure out why you're having sex.
I couldn't accept that. I couldn't, I'm like, oh, look at me. I'm so awesome because I've actually, overcome my addiction. Problem solved.
As opposed to just realizing that you replaced it.
Replacing it with something else.
Yeah. Well, it's not even that far away.
Right. Yeah, I know.
It's just like masturbation with porn to sex with your wife. It's still sex. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, right. And so, yeah, it took us, my gosh, I mean, this is exactly why we're doing this. It took us 20 years to figure out that that's what it was.
Yeah.
And all the ways, again, I think this is, going to continue on, how that presented itself in our marriage. And all the points of like me going back, going, oh my gosh, what the heck is this marriage? I mean, it's broken, it's shit. Why am I in it? Right? Like, so we're presenting this like with these brushstroke statements of this happened and that happened, but it was really, really hard in every way possible, both for you and for me.
Right. And even, I mean, I could even tell that there was, thinking back, I could tell, that there was something off about the sex, that something changed from back when I was masturbating and we were having sex till after. There was a shift there. And not in a good way. Right. But I was more willfully blind to it. I'm going to ignore that. I'm not going to pay any attention to that. I'm certainly not going to dive into what that means or what could be causing it. But I am aware that there was a shift there. And I'm sure I was to some degree. I just, why would I dig into that? That doesn't make sense.
Well, because that hurts.
Yeah.
Because that's where you're trying not to go. And that place is probably somewhere you have been only trying to go for the last year and a half or so. Maybe 2 at most. Still, while we're still struggling, trying to figure out what is the right time for you to have sex, right? Because sooner or later it got to the point where I almost had to go like, halt, do not approach me for sex, period, until you figure out why you want to approach me for sex, right? It was like, that was like, what, a year ago, 2 years ago? I don't remember when that was.
Probably, two and a half.
Which that sent you into like
panic mode.
Complete panic mode.
Complete panic mode. Yeah.
And only then I think you started to realize, wait, I am using sex to cope with all kinds of shit.
That's about when I realized, oh my gosh, I have this emotional hole that I am using this external thing to fill.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. I say that. When I kept on telling you you're addicted to sex and using sex for addiction and you didn't believe me, we kept on rigmaroling through that while we were still having sex. Right? Because I kept on saying that to you. You keep on not believing me. But guess what? On my end, we would still have sex.
Yeah.
And so to you, you had no incentive to fix anything. And to me, I just kept on like singing the same annoying song to you over and over, building resentment within you, right? And so at some point, then I think, driven from the spiritual guidance, I guess decided we're not gonna have sex. We're not gonna have sex until you figure this out, and that caused you to basically have.
I lost it. It was. I was like, it was crazy.
But that was the same moment as like the sober October, where you withdraw from it 120%, and then only then you can like evaluate, like, wait,
Yeah. No,
it's the same thing.
that was the beginning of changing my relationship with it, because I never would have without that. I mean, for sure.
Yeah. But
And like, and
stopping it altogether gave you a pause to evaluate why
even
you start.
yeah, I mean, even now, not only sugar is off for the dopamine thing, sex is off for this dopamine fast. And it's like, I'm like, yeah, okay, there's stuff coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I notice it still. I mean, till this day, I notice whenever you approach me, I can still tell. I guess that here again, that's another thing, right? Like not wanting to stir the boat and not wanting to say no. That does apply to me. I don't want to hurt your feelings and decline you, even though like I on my end realize, okay, it just doesn't even feel right. Right. So I still have a hard time verbalizing that. Like, yeah, approach me for the right reason. So yeah, I mean that's that is still something that we are unraveling.
Yeah.
I guess everything we talk about, we're still unraveling.
Yeah.
But we're kind of still like in the midst of that, of trying to understand that. Now, I will say, from my standpoint, as our relationship evolves, and it has nothing to do with me getting older or my hormone levels or whatever, I think through self awareness, the idea behind sex is lessening and lessening to me, because I realize it is like a complete fulfillment of three-dimensional attachments and forms. Um, and then a lot of times some sort of pain body expression, right? But as the pain body soothes itself, the desire to have sex for those reasons just becomes like almost like if somebody told you right now to go cut your hand off, you'll go, what? It's just ridiculous. Same thing with that, with sex. You would be like, what? That is not how that is not the way I want to soothe my pain body. I want to sit there and open it and discover it, and not dive into, you know, the itch or whatever. Which I think you get upset about still.
Uh, to some degree, but not like I used to. I mean,
Well,
just
with you, you're still in that mode of like wanting it for the wrong reason and still failing to identify it.
uh, sometimes.
Yeah. Well, now we're just not even able to with this
Right?
situation. Yeah, no, it just changes. I think it changes itself once you actually, everything changes itself. Like the wine changes itself, the masturbation changes itself, sex changes itself. Once you realize that, like in your case, it was super obvious to you that you were having sex to satisfy X need and that need and that need. But to that same extent on my end, I started to see, oh, I am also having sex too. Oh, look, I'm not feeling so good, and it's a pick me upper, right? Or like, oh, I want some intimacy. Let me dive into, because I want to feel loved or cuddled or supported or whatever, right? Just like you would have those addictive
Yeah.
tendencies, I see them in my end, right?
Yeah.
And so now having sex for any of those reasons just seems like silly.
Then what is the right reason?
I mean, to me, I already told you this, but I guess I'll repeat it for the podcast purposes. It is a expression of self on a much deeper, soulful level. I think that would be the only non-pain body driven expression that is, I would find appropriate, right? Because like I through hormonal cycles, right, I would go like, oh look, I can feel myself getting horny, not because right, like there's nothing behind it other than like, oh, this is the time where you can conceive a child, and so the body goes into that mode. And I'm like, is that the right reason to be having sex right now? Is because my physical form has some sort of clock programmed into it, and I'm going to be subject to this programming? And that just seems silly, right? It just seems silly to be subject to some sort of programming that is bred into us as like human survival and propagation 101, right? It's a pain body, right? I know it's not like my personal pain body, but it's like the pain body that is the essence of humanity. And so it just seems wrong for that reason. It just very obvious. By wrong, I mean it's very obviously carries a fear. It's a fear if it's fear-based response. Oh, I'm horny. Let me find a mate and get pollinated because this is the ovulation time, right? It's like
Yeah.
fear-based response.
Is that different from I'm hungry, let me find food? Or I'm tired, let me find a place to rest?
Yeah,
Is that
probably not. I just haven't figured out
they're
how
just this is
not to.
body
But right,
they're just
that's the same thing we're
body
experiencing right now. I'm running low on dopamine, and I want some chocolate and candy and possibly salt and sugar and some spices. Right, that's the same thing, right? Does your body actually need it? I mean, heck, on the spiritual level, there's people who live on light, right? So no, we don't need it, right? So there is some sort of response, right? Like going through this dopamine reduction makes you realize, like, oh, we don't need much.
right, that's the thing is that
Like,
and what's weird is that the desire for it is dropping in me. Day
mhm,
to day,
yeah.
I like day 1, we're hours in, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I want a cookie so bad." A cookie doesn't even sound great right now. I don't know, everything's so muted. Just so muted
Yeah.
and and
But it
and
gives you
and
space
dull,
to evaluate.
and I feel more separate from my body than I ever have.
But I think it gives you space to evaluate, right? But in that separateness from your body, like right now sex, I don't know if you feel that way about sex, but like to dive into animalistic sex right now for the purpose of pleasure.
It doesn't sound like I know if I let myself go there, it would sound good. I could make it sound good really quick, but at this moment, it's like,
But what's the point? If if you're seeing through the essence of why you're doing it, then you're like, oh, that's just like a dive into 52.
we gotta wrap up.
Uh,
We gotta wrap
we
up.
gotta wrap up. Okay. Well, yeah, but so yeah, to wrap up, it's like if seeing through of why is it that you're doing it,
Hmm.
and that maybe taking some space away from it,
Yeah.
right?
Take a month.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of people say if you take a month off of whatever it is that you are or you think you are addicted to, that will make a huge difference. And you may choose to go back to whatever it is, but you will at least go, oh, I can live 30 days without heroin or cookies or sex or whatever it is,
But it will
and you'll
give you
have
space for
yeah
perspective.
you'll have perspective over why you partake of this
Yeah.
substance or activity.
Because in the midst of it, it's almost impossible to judge. Like we're still right. Like we're just now going through this dopamine thing,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh my god,
Yeah. No, it's everything's muted, and then every now and then something will flare up. That's my experience. Is that everything is very, very muted almost the entire day. And then every now and then it's like, "Oh god, I want a cookie so bad."
hmm. With me, I'm finding my energy is low,
There was low energy.
very low energy, because I think I'm dependent on sugars a lot.
We're probably having a regular amount of
You
sugar,
think
just
so?
in, the raw ingredients to everything. We're just not having any of that added refined sugar.
Yeah, yeah,
Those mango strips are pure sugar.
yeah.
But, eat a couple grapes, there's sugar in there. But it's like
Well, yeah, we're just having to withdraw from the
refined sugar.
refined sugar, which makes you realize, oh, I spend a lot of my day dependent on that.
Right? It's
Ooh.
I've lost like 5 pounds since we started this.
Oh, I haven't been weighing myself. We started this like 2 days ago, 3 days ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I know. 5 pounds in 3 days. That's crazy. Is
yeah.
that not insane? That's like
Well, yeah, but you're very quick at gaining and losing 5
I'm very
pounds. Like,
quick.
well, you fluctuated with 5 pounds at a time.
Yeah.
So to you, 5 pounds is not much. Anyway, yeah. So there was that.
All right.
I guess we will transition into episode next with that as a transitional phase.
Right. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.